Hello everybody, this is Foxen13. Gonna make a new video. It's been a while since last time. This time it's about my Smith & Wesson M&P9 Pro. The gun have mainly been used for IPSC practical shooting, about 8,000 rounds. For about 6 months I owned this gun together with the HK P30. I bought this gun because I wasn't totally satisfied with the HK P30. When I bought this, I had it for 2 or 3 weeks. I shot almost 400 rounds with it, and I competed, and I improved myself with 10% compared to the P30. And it's mainly 2 things that make this gun a better gun. First of all, P30, that's a compact gun. This is a long gun, so it has a longer sightline. But what did the most with it is that this gun have a much better sights. When I owned the P30, there was no competition type sights. It was talked about that Warren Tactical gonna make some decent sights for the gun, but that never came about. Nowadays, at least Dawson Precision have good sights for the HK P30. It was much too little light on both sides of the front sights, and the front sight. Another thing where this gun is better, it is the controls. The P30 has a long slider release, and it was easy to connect with it either downwards or upwards with your thumbs. When I hold the grip here, I have this as high as possible and this as low as possible, and then I twist this hand, and it's easy for me to push the slider release upwards. This gun have perfect controls. They are yes, just perfect. And have the mag release here on the correct place. Yes, you can learn to use the HK control, and when you do, you don't think about it. Another department, then this gun is better than the HK P30. It is the slide finish, or the metal finish. On the HK, it shine through. You can see in all the serration, not all, but quite a lot on the serrations, the slider release and so on. It was a different color. It had nothing to do with how the gun works, but yes. But the HK was very reliable, and when you start to use this gun, you have used the HK for a long time, and start to use this gun didn't feel as solid as the HK. The HK is built rock solid, and you can feel it's give a certain quality feel to the gun. Hard to describe. Magazines, the HK magazines, built like tanks. These ain't. I'm not destroyed on them yet, but the springs and so on is weaker on this gun. And when this gun was new, the trigger pull was awful. It squeaked. No, it doesn't. It doesn't squeak at all. In IPSC shooting we have a minimum trigger pull of 5 pounds, and the original block, when I've shot this gun about 8,000 rounds, wasn't able to hold 5 pounds. So now the dealer have installed a new block, and the trigger pull is a bit harder than the original, but I have no problem with it. A lot of people complain about the HK P30 V1 trigger group. When I learned to use it, it was no problem. The first match, when I proved myself with 10%, I hadn't learned to use the much shorter reset on this gun. Every round I shot, I almost lifted completely off the trigger, but it ain't a problem when you learn to do it. It's nowadays I have learned to use the short reset. And there is resets. It ain't a Glock reset, which is much shorter than this, but it's definitely shorter than the HK. Another thing I don't like with this gun was that the stippling ain't good enough for a good grip, but for competition use it's no problem. I use these skateboard tape, true skateboard tape, made for skateboard where you jump and so on, so you can't make them less good. Another thing, this gun, the HK gun, when you lube it with oil, less than 100 rounds, and the gun was pretty much dry. So I started to lube the HK with grease on the rails, and that worked just perfect. This gun don't like grease. It gunks up and it gets a messy stuff of it. So this gun I lube with oil. The chamber on this gun is much tighter than on the HK gun. The HK gun, when I reload most of my ammunition, and there have been someone who tried to get the Gem-O-Matic to run, so they use a Lee undersize die. And what the Lee undersize die does over time, close to the groove for the extractor, there is a ring with brass pushed downwards, and that ring make the round fasten in the chamber on this gun. The HK gun, you could shoot and shoot and shoot, and I reload. When I reload, I test all my rounds in the cartridge cage, not in the chamber. And the rounds I sorted out, I fired in the HK gun. And then I start thinking, oh, it might not necessary. So it got in my training ammunition. But when I started to use this gun, it jams jammed a lot of times because of that. So I have had to raise my bar for how I reload my ammunition, how I sort brass. I have a different batch for competition ammunition, which I'm much more correct with, do a better job with. And I guess in competition I have shot this gun about 5,000 rounds, and I have one failure. This gun, like the HK P30, if you shove in a pretty full magazine, the slide drops. And during a stage where I planned to shoot empty, normally you don't do that, but on this stage it was the plan to shoot empty. In IPSC we only can have 15 rounds in the magazines, and when I shove this almost full magazine in, it didn't drop the slide, and then I whacked the bottom of the magazine to get the slide to release. The obvious thing would of course have been to rack the slide instead, but I didn't. Then the slide dropped, but it didn't fetch a round from the magazine, and that's most likely because when I whacked the magazine to let the slide loose, the rounds dipped a bit in the magazine because of the impact. So I had to rack the slide once again to get the round to get going. That's the only failure I had with this gun with proper ammunition. It's been very solid. Overall, I'm pleased with it. With grip tape, this long, let's call it beaver tail, supports the gun very good. And there are no control to make problems for me with the grip. When I have a good grip on this gun, I'm not close to any of the controls. Yes, that was pretty much what I have to say about this gun. I'm gonna sell it, not because I don't like it, but I don't need it, and I want to buy another gun later in the year. I don't like Glock, but I've disliked Glock for so many years, so I want to give it a decent try. So I'm probably gonna buy a Glock 17. Another good thing with the Glock 17, you can get a true competition holster for it. I have not forgotten the HK P30. If I buy it again, I buy the long, but not with a V3 trigger group, with a decocker and that sort of things. I want the V1, which work just perfectly. A dealer have suggested a Grand Power. I don't think so. It's a pretty new design. I'm not sure of it, how it gonna works in the long run. But for those of you who want a gun for competition shooting, a no-nonsense gun that works, have a fiber front sight, this is a very good gun indeed. Thank you.